Monsieur Thi from Directorate Organization, the Secretary General. السلام عليكم. بالنسبه للضيوف ديالنا اللي كيتحدثوا باللغه العربيه كنرحب بكم في هذا الحدث اللي كنستضيفوه اول مره في مدينه مكناس، ومعنا ضيوف يعني من المغرب ومن دول مختلفه. سميتي منير النيلي، كنشتغل مع واحد المؤسسه فونداسيون كنديين سميتها The Six فونديشن، كنشتغلوا على السلامه الرقميه. وغادي نبداو بالكلمه ديال الضيوف ديالنا الكرام، ونبداو بالكلمه ديال الاستاذ عبد الحي من Directorate Organization. ما كان فيك السلام.
السلام عليكم. بداية أرحب بجميع الحضور. سعيد برؤيتكم ورؤية الوجوه التي قطعت مسافات للوصول إلى مدينة مكناس، التي هي صراحة سعيدة جدا بوجودكم، بحكم أنها تحتضن لأول مرة هذه المدينة تحتضن نموذج الأمم المتحدة بشراكة مع منظمة كونار. أرحب بالسيدة عبير وبالسيد نائب الرئيس رشيد الطالبي. أجدد الترحاب بكم. أتمنى يعني جاهدا أن تقضوا معنا في خلال هذا المؤتمر أوقات جيدة. مركز الفكر السليم أو جمعية الفكر السليم ترحب بكم بطاقمها بمتطوعيها، ولنا إشارتكم كذلك في أي شيء. أكيد كان هناك تعب، كان هناك ارهاق، ولكن أعتقد أنه مع مرور الوقت سيتلاشى ذلك وستعجبون بمدينة مكناس. كي لا أطيل في هذه الكلمة، أود أن أشكركم على حضوركم، أشكركم على كل ما قدمتموه من خلال مد الاستمارة والمتابعة مع اللجنة إلى غير ذلك. كان هناك عمل شاق، ولكن اليوم الحمد لله من خلالكم أرى أن شاء الله سيكون مؤتمر ناجح جدا بمدينة مكناس ولكم. شكرا جزيلا.
I'm excited to remember. Welcome everyone, and we are very happy to host you here, especially for those who are flying to Morocco. And myself, I am very happy, and I thank you all for your efforts in filling the form to be part of the program. I thank all our guests here, and I welcome you, and I hope you discover Meknes. And the floor is to Adil from Adenauer Organization.
Honorable delegates, distinguished guests, partners, and organizers, it is a great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation to the first edition of Meknes Model United Nations Conference. We are very happy to support the organization of this event in partnership with Proper Thought for Development Organization. And it is our pleasure to receive so many young people from various cities who are interested in the politics and structures of the United Nations. The Konrad Adenauer Foundation is a German political foundation. We have offices in more than 120 countries. In Germany, as well as in abroad, our civic education programs aim at promoting freedom and liberty, peace and justice. We focus on consolidating democracy, the strengthening of transatlantic relations, as well as on development cooperation. The political education programs of CAS aim to enable, motivate and qualify citizens to actively engage in political discussions and decision-making processes at different levels. Of special relevance in this regard is addressing and working with young people. We encourage you as students to actively take part in the elaboration of answers of today's challenges. We believe that empowering young people is crucial in an increasingly globalized world, with an ever-growing need for international cooperation and the finding of globally just compromises and solutions. Meknes MUN 2019 is your event, and it is the perfect setting to apply your ideas, to use your creativity and persuasiveness, to develop new answers to some of the world's most pressing issues and challenges. So I hope that you will have an interesting, exciting, and controversial debate, and I wish you a rewarding Model United Nations conference. Thank you very much.
والآن الكلمة للأستاذ رشيد طربي. ضيوفنا الأعزاء، ضيوفنا المميزون، شركاؤنا ومنظمو اللقاء، إنه بكل سرور كبير أن نحتضن هذا الحدث في مكناس. نحن ككونراد أديناور فاونديشن، مؤسسة كونراد أديناور فاونديشن، نحن جد سعداء لدعم المؤسسة التي نظمت هذا الحدث اللي اسمها Proper Thought for Development، مركز الفكر السليم للتنمية. And it is our pleasure، إنه لا شرف كبير لنا لنستضيف ضيوفا شباب من مختلف المدن، وهم مهتمون جدا بالسياسات ونموذج الأمم المتحدة. مؤسسة كونراد أديناور إنها مؤسسة ألمانية، مؤسسة سياسية ألمانية. لدينا لدينا أكثر من 120 مكتب في ألمانيا بالأساس. نهتم بدعم التربية المدنية والحرية والسلام والعدالة. نركز على الديمقراطية، تقوية الانتقال الديمقراطي والتطور والتعاون. البرنامج السياسي لكاس يهدف إلى تحسين تطوير جودة المواطنين الذين يكونوا فعالين في الحوار السياسي وصناعة القرار على مستويات مختلفة. وأيضا نشجع الطلبة ليكونوا جزءا من للإجابة على أسئلة وتحديات اليوم. أيضا نؤمن في تقوية قدرات الشباب في هذا العالم الذي هو في حاجة للتعاون الدولي. نموذج الأمم المتحدة لمكناس 2019 هو حدثكم، وهو فرصة لطرح أفكار وتطبيق أفكار، وأيضا للإبداع. وأتمنى أن تكون تجربتكم جد مهمة ممتعة، ويكون فيها حوار ونقاش ممتع ونقاش جد مفيد. وشكرا لكم. كلمة الأستاذ.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I am Rashid Karami, first Vice President of the Community of Meknes, and I am so happy to be with you. This is thought that the event is for young people. I think I am so young. I have a few of ideas I want to share with you. You may translate it the other way. First thing, I thank you for PTD, Purpose Out of Development. We are so happy to have you in Meknes, and it's an honor to have this event in Meknes, and it's I think it's the first time we come in Meknes, and I hope come in Meknes several times. So this experience, I think it's a good thing for young people, and it's so good for Meknes. Meknes is so glad to receive you. Thank you for choosing Meknes.
أتقدم بالشكر لمركز الفكر السليم وأتمنى أن أتمنى أن تأتوا لمكنس مرات عديدة. هذا الحدث جد مهم للشباب. شكرا لكم جزيلا. And sorry, just I and now we'll give the floor to Mr. Amin for the training part. والآن تجي الدور ديال السي أمين المرحلة ديال التدريب.
Good evening, everyone. So from now on, there's no Arabic, only English. I'm sorry, guys, because I don't think we have interpreters who can keep up with all the technical vocabulary that we are going to see from now on. First, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Amin Mishal. I'm a professor, also a member of Model United Nations Morocco. I've been a member since it started. But before I start, I just have a question for you. Who doesn't know, not who knows, who doesn't know what is an MUN? From the delegates. Everybody knows what is an MUN? You don't know?
I would like to have a description. I would like to hear a description of the...
Okay, great. But my question is, like, do you have an idea about what an MUN is? Okay, great. Sir?
Do we know what the abbreviation stands for?
The abbreviation, or just you're coming here? So, like, do you know what to expect? What are you going to do in this conference? Yes, no, don't feel ashamed to say no. No? Great. Great, welcome to Morocco. It doesn't really matter. I remember my first conference, which was the first conference ever in Morocco. It was back in 2015. And I walked into the room not having an idea about even the meaning of MUN, like what does it stand for. I just saw this fancy event on Facebook. I just decided to apply. I got a scholarship, I attended. It was a fancy hotel in Fes. We were there with Mr. Imeldi, Mr. Yusuf Arabi, and everyone else. And I personally did not know what is an MUN. I had to just sit there, not do anything, just listen more. It's all class because I don't want to mess it up. Here I am. Now I'm chairing the United Nations headquarters with the Economic and Social Committee or Council of the United Nations Conference, which takes place every year in New York. And I'm also an academic member of the United Nations Conference. The moral of this story is that you start as delegates, but you will not remain delegates your entire lives. You will all have the chance to lead communities, to progress, and also to improve, both at the academic level and also at the MUN level, I would say. Again, before I start, I have a little warm-up for you. I will go around the room, and I want you to give me one adjective to express how you feel at this very moment. One adjective in English. For those of you in the back who have more time to think about it, I will start from here. So one adjective. How do you feel about yourself being here, sitting there? Okay, I will add one word. Adjective.
Enough.
Thank you.
Excited.
Excited. Thank you.
Interesting.
Interested. Mumtaz. Good.
Inspired.
Inspired.
Grateful.
Grateful. Can you please?
Excited too.
Excited. You can repeat the adjective.
Proud.
Proud.
Happy.
Happy.
Culture.
Uh-huh. Culture.
Tired. I'd say excited, but I'm a little bit hungry, so I'm not sure.
You're still confused. We'll give you time and ask you later.
Eager.
Eager.
Delighted.
Delighted.
Challenge.
Challenged. Okay.
Proud.
Proud.
Normal.
Normal. That's a very neutral adjective. Diplomatic as well.
Confused.
Confused. That's not diplomatic.
Excited too.
Excited.
Excited too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited too.
Okay, please do not be excited. Amazed. Thank you.
Special.
Special.
Interested.
Interested.
I'm relieved.
Relieved.
Yes.
Okay, I will come back to you later.
Vague.
Huh?
Vague.
Vague? Okay.
Ready.
Ready, yes.
Thankful.
Thankful.
Nervous.
Okay, nervous.
Beneficial.
Huh?
Beneficial.
Beneficial, okay.
Honored.
Honored.
Nervous.
Nervous. You have every right to do that, to be nervous.
Lost.
Lost.
Fine.
Fine.
Empowered.
Empowered. Thank you. And for me, I'm just hungry. I haven't eaten in too long. You see, you didn't say that. Okay, so I moved around, I looked at your faces. There are faces that I could recognize and a lot of other faces that are completely new to me, which is great. It means that we are getting more people involved in the Model United Nations, and this is what matters. So the people who have been with us also, they are continuing to grow in the Model United Nations, the Model United Nations experience, but also for the new people. I'm sure that one conference, two conferences from now, you will be experts in everything that I'm going to be introducing now. So please, just if you are lost, we're going to work with you to eliminate this lost feeling. If you are confused, we're going to do the same. If you think this is vague, we are going to make it more specific. And now I would just like to, without any further ado, to start talking about the rules of procedure. The Model United Nations conferences are the toughest or the most strict forms of debate. It means that there are a lot of rules of procedures that govern this discussion. So we're not just going to meet like we are doing now, for example, and anyone can speak, everyone has the right to speak, but we will do it according to the rules of procedure that we have. So tomorrow we're going to start our first session. The very first session starts with a roll call. A roll call is, remember back in the high school when you just go to class and then the teacher starts calling your names? Yeah, Hader. So tomorrow you're going to say Hader, but in English, and you're going to be like present or present and voting. The chair is going to call every single country according to the alphabetical order, and you are going to mention whether you are only present or present and voting. Voting meaning when we come to voting on the resolution at the or the draft resolutions at the very end for the last session of the conference. So after we conduct the roll call, the chair opens the floor for motions. I'm going to talk about motions, but this motion is to set the agenda. We have in our committee, for example, the Economic and Social Council. What is the topic of the, by the way, what is the topic of the Social and Economic Council? Yeah, great. That's very vague again. So we will have to think about subtopics that go within this big umbrella, and we will suggest them. Each delegate or representative of country will have to present them, and then we are going to vote or adopt this agenda if everybody agrees. And of course, we are going to have a of voting procedures all the time. Whenever a delegate suggests something, we are going to vote whether to adopt this agenda or to adopt this decision or not. Okay, so this is the second thing, setting the agenda. Which can be 2 topics, 3 topics. No, like, it doesn't matter as long as you all vote in favor, or the majority of the House votes in favor of that agenda. The third thing is moving to the opening speeches. So I don't know if you already know about this or not, but tomorrow everyone, without exception, will have to deliver a speech of 60 to 90 seconds, in which they introduce the position of their countries, the countries that they represent. You are going to have the word to go to the stand, if there is one, or like stand up and just address the House, introducing your position on the matter. And also, this is a very important first impression that you are going to make, both at the level of the dais, who will have to choose the best delegates at the end of the conference, and also at the level of your other fellow delegates. Why? Because it can be like as an invitation to everyone that you are, or like as a presentation of your point of view, that maybe if another country shares, you are going to be allies during the conference, you can lobby during the conference, and you can help each other draft a resolution and maybe pass it if you are if you have the strong argument to support it. So this is very important. Remember, tomorrow's opening speeches are all about first impression to the dais and also to the delegates. Okay, so now this is how we get started. This is what's going to happen tomorrow in the first session. In MUN, we have points, and motions. Points and motions. These are things that we will be using. This is how our conference will keep going, with motions and points. Mainly motions. And here I would like to introduce to you the first and most important motion, which is motion to move for a moderated caucus, or motion to open a moderated caucus. Moderated caucus. Please remember this word. You will need to use it tomorrow. Moderated caucus. The moderated caucus is a formal session in which we are going to open a speakers list, and all countries who are willing to speak in regards to that subtopic. Remember the agenda that we talked about? We are going to take one topic after the other, and you should talk or present your your country's point of view regarding that topic, or the first topic that we are discussing. So, how do we do that? The chairs do not start this. The chairs say, now the floor is open to any points or motions. So it's your role to raise your placard and to raise a motion. How do you raise a motion? Can we have one of the former delegates to tell us how to suggest a motion to the delegates?
The delegation of AEE would like to raise a motion of 15 minutes each delegate.
40 minutes?
14 minutes.
14 minutes?
Yeah.
5
minutes each delegate.
5 minutes each delegate. Okay, so the format is very correct. The format, so the delegate stands up once he or she or they or the country is recognized by the chair, and they address the House. Honorable chairs, distinguished delegates, the delegation of Morocco would like to raise a motion to open a moderated caucus on the topic of youth involvement in political life in the MENA region, for example. Try to make it as specific as possible and within the first topic of our agenda. And then what's important is you should mention the duration, the whole duration of the caucus. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like it's up to you to decide. But please just don't make them too long, because we have to address all the other topics that other delegates would like to talk about. And the speaking time for each delegation. Let's say 1 minute, 30 seconds for each delegation. Okay? And then the chair will take this motion and we will move to the voting. Another way of doing it, we will listen to all the motions, we will register these motions on the floor. So the chair is going to give you a sign. Once you hear, are there any motions, you should think about the motions that I'm going to present now. And the first one is the moderated caucus, which is a formal debate again, in which each delegate who registers his or her name or their name to the list have to stand up and speak for the duration that the delegate set for in the beginning. For example, 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then the delegates will move around, or we will go through the speaking list or speakers list, and each delegate who registered will talk, and the dais will stop the delegates if they exceed the time of the moderated caucus, which is set, for example, by the delegate from the very beginning in, let's say, 15 minutes. And then the chair is going to say, the floor is now open for new motions. So if you have another motion, you are going to present it. And we are going to go through the other motions that we have. The second motion, which is very important as well, is unmoderated caucus. So we have the moderated caucus, which is formal. This one is unmoderated. In the unmoderated caucus, students or delegates have the right to stand up and talk to each other, lobby, discuss things that they share in common, things that they want to collaborate in regards to, like, it's informal. The chairs will not interfere. You can talk however you want, as long as you respect the code of conduct of MUN Morocco, and you can move around. There's no problem. So in order for you to raise this motion, again, when the chair says, are there any motions on the floor? One of you, anyone, can raise their placard and say, the delegation of Morocco would like to move to unmoderated caucus, to further discuss what we were talking about in the moderated caucus, or to lobby, or you mention the topic of this moderated caucus. So it's important that you mention the duration, the entire duration, and then the topic of this unmoderated caucus. There is no individual speaking time, okay? Not like the formal one, which is the moderated caucus. And this is, again, this is very important motion. Other motions are drafting resolution. Motion to draft a resolution. So after many debates, a lot of debates, we can move to start drafting the resolution, which is the point of why we are here. Like, that's the thing that we are going to take with us from this conference. And we are going to talk about it in the committees in more details, like how to draft the resolution and what you should do, what you should take into account, okay? And by the way, this motion usually appears in, like, let's say we will use it on Saturday and also maybe on Sunday. So it will not be present in the beginning. Why? Because we haven't discussed many topics to be able to start drafting the resolution. However, you can always, during the committee session, take notes and put ideas that you want to include in the draft resolution later on. But we will not do it formally, like all of us. It's just individual until, like I said, Saturday or Sunday. Presenting the resolution, that's the draft resolution, that's gonna be the very last thing before or in the last session of the conference. Like, we are going to present the resolution, and then there is a motion to vote on the resolution after presenting all the resolutions that we have, the draft resolutions. By the way, we can have one, we can have two, it depends. So if everyone agrees to have one, which we encourage, it's good. If not, we can have more in each committee, more draft resolutions, which is fine. So we are going to move to the voting, and that will be the last step, okay? And then we have another motion to suspend, a motion to suspend the session. We look at our programs, we will see that, for example, let's say at 4:30 or 4 p.m., we have, like, let's say a coffee break, for example. You know that. So once you see that the time for the coffee break is there, you just raise your placard and raise a motion to suspend the session and move to the coffee break. And then we are going to vote on it again, and if people do not vote on it, I'm sorry, you're not gonna have your coffee break. So So yeah, so that's how we are going to proceed. Another one is the adjournment of the meeting. Adjournment of the meeting, or adjournment of the meeting, or let's say suspending the meeting. Motion to suspend the meeting. So after an entire day of negotiations, debates, discussions, formal and informal debates, caucuses, etc., we want to go back to our rooms, and that's it. Like the time for our daily agenda is over. So then you can raise a motion to suspend the meeting until next session, which is going to happen the next day. And again, we are going to vote on it. If you don't vote on it, you're going to sleep in your conference rooms. The last one is adjournment of the conference. The delegation of Morocco would like to adjourn the meeting or the conference. So this is the very last thing. After we vote on the draft resolutions, after the draft resolution either passes or not, adopted or not, so the conference is over, you're going to raise a motion and adjourn the conference until, let's say, next year or the next scheduled meeting. I don't know when it's going to happen. Okay?
Excuse me.
Yeah?
The last one.
Motion?
No, the adjournment of the conference. Why?
That's the last thing. Like, we are done. Like, the meeting or the conference is over. It's going to be on the last day. This motion is only for Sunday. When are we going to finish? Sunday. Yeah. What hour?
2 p.m.
No, before that. Like, once we are done from the committee session. 12? Huh? Okay, 11:30. So then someone should raise a motion to adjourn the meeting after we vote on the draft resolution. So it's the last thing.
So it's like, I can't understand why adjourning the meeting. It's ended more why.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's like the closure.
Closure. Yeah, that's it. We're done. So then we are going to move to the conference room for the closing ceremony. But the conference sessions are over. Now we are going to move to points. So we talked about motions. We are going to talk now about points, and I will start with the most popular points that delegates love to use, which is point of personal privilege. Yeah, Google it. I know. You're going to give us a hard time with your So point of personal privilege. So for this point, you don't have to wait until the chair gives you the opportunity to say something. You can just write a note to the dais in which you mention your first point of personal privilege, and the dais will answer you via a note again. Okay? So please just do not stand up and say the point of personal privilege, because sometimes it hinders the flow of the discussion. So please just write a note with point of personal privilege and what you want to do and send it to us. Okay, why do we need this point of personal privilege? We use it, for example, because let's say the room is too hot. I'm feeling uncomfortable in the room. So I would raise this observation or this note that makes me feel uncomfortable to the dais. The dais will communicate with the organizing committee or the hotel staff. You want to use the bathroom. And I believe you will need to. You write a point of personal privilege. This is the purpose, to be excused, to use the bathroom, or to you have an important phone call. Two, you can use this point of personal privilege to do that. Can you think of other former delegates?
No, I'm not from a delegate, but just from what I heard. If someone, for example, or a delegate speaking slowly or does not speak loudly, you can have like this personal privilege to tell them to raise their voice.
Thank you. It's also when someone is speaking like this, so we're not going to make the word great, and we are going to, you can't hear, you can't understand. So here you can, and here I would suggest you just you raise your placard and say it. Okay, you don't have to write a note, because by the time the note will arrive, we cannot ask the person to repeat again his or her speech, or their speech. Okay, are we good with points of personal privilege? Points of personal privilege is made for your own comfort. Okay, so any concern, anything, you raise these points. Point of inquiry. Point of inquiry. Point of inquiry. Let's say, like, yes, now we are having this session, interactive session, but then, like, you forgot something. So, just because you forgot something, that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to speak. You can always raise this point anytime you raise your placard. You don't have to write a note again. You raise your placard and you say point of inquiry. And then you mention what is the confusion that you have in terms of the rules of procedure. You don't know something, you don't understand something, you don't know what's going to happen next in terms of the procedure. You have the right to raise this point at any time during the conference, okay? So please feel free to use it whenever you want. Point of parliamentary procedure. Point of parliamentary procedure is a point that you raise when someone is not following or messes up with the procedure, with the flow of the discussion. Like, let's say, for example, I'll give you a silly example. Let's say that we are just starting, and then someone raises a motion to move to voting on the resolution. What resolutions are you talking about? So, like, we should go through a lot of processes to go to that point. So we cannot do that. So you can raise this point. And also for the chairs, if you think your chair made a mistake, you can raise this point. Okay? Procedure. Point of information. Point of information. So we are in the moderated caucus, the formal debate, and then a delegate finishes his or the country finishes their speech. But you have, let's say, something that you want the delegate who just spoken to clarify. You raise point of information, but this point of information cannot be granted until the chair asks the delegate who spoke and asking them, are they open to take this point of information? If they say yes, then if we have time for it, the chair will put it in order and it will happen. You are going to address the delegate with your concern, with your, question. If not, we're going to proceed to the next speaker. Okay? So it's up to the delegate who just spoken to decide whether they want to take it or not. Point of clarification. You can raise this point again at any time of the conference. Point of clarifications to the dais to ask them about something that you didn't understand in general. It can be about the topic of the committee, not necessarily the rules of procedures, because for the rules of procedures we have what point? Okay, this is clarification for like an information that you want to check, etc. Point of clarification. Point of order. And this is a point that you will be hearing a lot. You can raise it at any time. You raise your placard, the chair recognizes you, and then you say your point of order. When do we use the point of order? Again, our alumni.
When someone is off the speech. When someone is off the topic. Okay. So, yes, it can be used, but in more advanced nuance, but sometimes, like a delegate just speaks, so we cannot tell them, okay, so you should stop, what you're saying doesn't make sense, according to who? So, like, we give the chance for everyone to speak. So I would agree with you, but also skip it for this conference. Points of order, like when there is a kind of a source of disturbance coming from somewhere. or from someone.
Thank you. Again, someone, a delegate is talking to another delegate and they are disturbing you. Or, let's say, someone
takes more than his amount of time.
Great. Someone who exceeds the time that they have.
A point of order is issued when there is any form of violation to the UN protocol inside the Council, either from the dais or from the delegations.
Thank you. And also, I will give you a very specific example after I listen.
Maybe an example, if a delegate will start talking with I, we should always talk with we. The delegation of this country, we shouldn't say I. So.
Thank you very much. That's exactly what I was going to say. Please, starting from tomorrow morning, no use of personal pronouns. No I. Okay? Always we. You use third person, we, or you use what? The delegation of. The delegation of Morocco wants to do this. The delegation of China wants to do that, etc. So never address or talk about your delegation using the first person pronouns. Okay? And this is very important. I know it will be like by default you will just say I, but at any point if you hear someone saying first person, you raise point of order, and we are going to accept it and ask the delegate to correct themselves. Okay.
Sorry, I have a question. Doesn't this point of order somehow associated with the parliamentary procedure?
Yes, but I would say that point of order is about like incidents that happen, that are not part of the conference, that shouldn't be there, and someone makes this mistake. For the point of parliamentary procedure, it's about the general frame of the conference. Like we skip a step, for example. We skip, let's say, one of the topics or the subtopics of the agenda, something like that. For point of order, you use it for example, this. Someone is like speaking too loud to their delegate, someone who uses the first person pronouns, etc. So, I think that can be corrected or addressed briefly. Right of reply. Right of reply. Again, you can raise it whenever you want delegation. Let's say that I'm a delegate of Russia and I'm saying the delegation of the United States doesn't know anything. So then you can just have this or use this right, and then you can also ask for this if the chair agrees that this is a fact, like this happened. If the chairs admit that they deserve an apology. So if the chair doesn't think that, then they will tell you.
Would the right of reply apply to criticisms of policies or plans that are legitimate, or only to more personal attacks about the country or delegates?
Well, I would say for that you can use points of information or something, but for this one, we are going to use it more when you feel that you cannot stop it, like you feel that you have been insulted, so you cannot keep it, you need to say it, you need the house to it's like رد اعتبار. So in this sense, so you're just going to retrieve like your dignity that was touched by the speech of this delegate. Yes.
Can we use the point of right to reply whenever the name of our country is mentioned in other delegations?
Okay, Mr. Secretary General is going to answer you.
Hello, everyone. All right, I will just slow the pace, and thank you, Amin, for the wonderful introduction. I will get back to you for the right of reply and the right to follow up, but First things first, I would like to get introduced to what is a delegate first. Who are you as a delegate?
A delegate is the representative of a country that belongs to these nations.
Perfect. So a delegate is a representative of a country that is represented in a council or committee within the United Nations or the European Union or any international assets such as the NATO or the African Union, etc. Your mission as a delegate, what is it?
To defend the position of your country.
Another perfect answer is to defend the position of your country. What is the position of your country?
Is to find the right solution for a certain problem.
Find an answer. Find a solution for some problems.
The stance of a country towards a particular issue.
To understand or to solve a particular issue of a country.
It depends on different topics, either the risks, what are the concerns, it depends on the particular topic.
That's the answer that I was looking for. So, your mission as a delegate consists in understanding the position of your country and the priorities of your country. So, as a delegate, you cannot defend your own ideas. You cannot defend, for example, a delegate of the United States who generally believe in climate change and global warming. He will not go there representing the United States and defend the global warming and climate change. He will stand for the position of that country. The same thing goes for the representative of China and the representative of India, which are the three most polluting countries in the world. So here you need to distinguish or to put two sides of the thing. As a delegate or as a representative of your country, your ideas or what you stand for and what your country is standing for. It's like the devil advocates in a complicated way. And therefore, you're there to defend anything for your country and to strengthen the position of your country within the committee or the council. And by that, I will be answering the question, which is, would you have the right to use the right to reply if you heard the name of your country or if your country is cited? The answer is yes, in the rules of procedure or the bylaws of the United Nations, because there, your country is cited, you need to answer. And here, it doesn't mean necessarily you will be answering by attacking back, just the fact of another delegation citing your country, which you are there in the first place to defend the position of your country, that made you entitled to answer them because you are the only one who knows best what is in your country, and you are the only one who is there to say to speak in the name of your country. So, and why all that? Why you have to have a saying when it comes to your country? Why you have to have a say, why you have to answer even when someone says something good or bad about your country, but you have to have the floor to use or to practice the right of reply and to have a say and to speak about the subject or whatever was discussed and to say your final saying about your country, whether to emphasize or to contradict what the fellow delegation was saying.
Because you are a physical representation of your country, you have to always keep the image and keep the place of your country in anything that you are in.
Yes. I want more.
Because every country has its sovereignty, and you as the representative of this country are the only one that you have the right to answer.
Another yes, but I'm looking for four. Four more now.
Any country that speaks about your delegation or your country is making an assumption about your point and your stance, and you have the right to defend that or clarify if someone's misrepresenting your opinions.
Perfect, but I'm looking for more.
Well, if it is left unanswered, it's a solid way of accepting whatever said about your country. So you're going with whatever it is, whatever is said about your country. You're not representing your country anymore.
All right, I'll take that, but I'm looking for more, but it's time to explain. I'll take one last answer.
As a representative of a country, you're the one who knows what's better for that country. Whether it's bad or wrong, you're the one who should say that state, or you're the one who should state the fact that the other country may have said.
All your answers are right, but I'm looking for more. Therefore, I'll be just answering it. Can we have 3 volunteers here? You 3. As many of you are first-timers, you need to have a Model UN one-on-one. So you need to get introduced to who are in the committee and what is a committee, and who are running the committee and why they are running the committee, and what are they doing there. That's why you're doing Model UN, and you get introduced in a more simple way to what's going on in the committee within the United Nations. So the committee consists of 3 people who are running the committee, and they are either hired by the United Nations to run a committee, or they are a member state that are elected to run a committee. And I'll get to the details of it in a few. 3 people that are running the committee always, like in the beginning committees, and now, and can you please? Okay. There is the director, the co-director, and the reporter. There are the 3 people who are always running the committee, which is in the beginner committees such as ECOSOC, such as the Human Rights Council. These are beginner committees, and such as UNHCR. There are many committees that are beginners, and why they are beginners in Model UN, because their rule of procedures or their protocol is more simple than the most advanced ones, such as the Security Council, such as the Special Committee, such as the Legal Committee. These are more complicated committees because they consist of a lot of procedures, and their protocol is not easy to understand. So what's their mission? The director is the one who runs the committee, is one entitled to give the floor to a delegation, and entitled to stop the delegation from their speech, entitled to run the committee from E to Z. And here when we're talking about E to Z, we have to talk about the outcome or the material of the committee. We're starting by the PP, which is the position paper, to the resolution paper. And from here to here, we are going to go through stages. And when we're talking about this, we're talking about the documentation and the documented material of the committee. This is coming from each delegation, which is a position paper, which is what your fellow chairs asked you to send them before. And that's actually the same what happened within the United Nations. The chairs contacted each country and asked them to send them the position papers. They know from analysis, and they know for a fact what happens within the country, but they want a final say in a report by the government, the representatives, or the citizens that can say their positions. And when we will get to the technicality of the position paper later on, because right now we're answering the question. And from here, once we start the committee, we start by the position paper. After the position paper, many positions got together into a blog of countries. And that, when the director will be entitled to ask for the second documentation, which is
Working paper.
the working paper. Working paper, and then after that, when blocks are getting together, 2 to 3 blocks are getting together, and the flow of the debates and the consensus are starting to form, we will get to another phase where the chair or the co-chair will be entitled to ask for the third documentation, which is the draft resolution.
السلام عليكم. غادي يقدم السيد مدير جاوي وزارة الثقافة واحد الكلمة مختصرة بمناسبة هذا المؤتمر، فليتفضل مشكور.
It's a pleasure to receive, to be one of the sponsors of this meeting and to offer you a good stay in Meknes. And I am sorry because I was in Rabat for a mission and I still arrive now. So I will be also a pleasure to contribute with you in this in the future. Some subjects and some topics, and I will also focus my intervention on the importance of contribution of youth people in all stakeholders politics. And not only in political level, but also in other levels like culture, like social contribution, and so on. So I am pleasure to hope and to wish for you all success in your work, and to hope the same success for this meeting and for the mission of this meeting and all meetings which we have the same subject, which is focused on youth and the youth contribution in our society for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Moving swiftly on, and I would like to catch up your concentration and your focus, not to lose the rope, because my explanations is going to the first comers and the first experienced delegates that have no clue what's happening, and they are hearing new terms, points, motions, point of personal privilege. It sounds very complicated, but take it easy, because this is why we're here. We are trying to simplify these things that are complicated, but once you take them step by step, you will master them and they can lead you somewhere. We were talking about the documentations of the committee or the council. We started by the position paper, working paper, then draft resolution, and then by the end, the resolution paper or the non-resolution paper. And once you come as a delegate to a committee to represent your country, you're coming for this. for the resolution paper or the non-resolution paper. Now, some countries are coming to get non-resolution paper at the end of the committee. They don't want a solution for some issues. So you need to bear that in mind, and you need to embody the work of your country, and you need to represent your country the best way or the closest way that they're doing it. So we state the director, the assistant director, and the reporter. The reporter, what they do in the committee. So the director entitled to run the committee. The co-director is entitled to help or to assist the director to run the committee the best way. They remind them on the timing, they write the motion, they write the points, they keep in track everything. But there is one third person there, which is the rapporteur or the coordinator of the committee. What they are doing?
They summarize what the director and co-director are doing.
No, they don't summarize. At the opposite. They write everything. Everything. Whatever happened into the formal sessions, they write it, not in the informal session, the formal sessions. Therefore, and this is the end, and I will be giving the floor back to Mr. Amin. Is he here? Therefore, once a country is cited by another country, they try their best to exercise their right of reply, so they can have the final say in, and that would go automatically to the report of the committee. Is it understood? So you understand why you have to talk, even if they are saying something good about your country. You either emphasize or you need to show your position when it comes to your country, whenever your country is cited. And that's why there are forms of lobbying that we'll be getting to later on. But on one-on-one, we say there are the directors and the committees are informed of you. There is each delegate will be having something in front of them, which is a small thing. And on this thing, you will have the name of your country. What does this thing is? What is it? Placard. What is a placard? Yeah.
To use your right.
To use. That's your weapon. That's how you will express yourself. You cannot go like this. You cannot be like Ustad or Professor or Director or no. That's not the case in the Committees of the United Nations. You're using a protocol that you are using the tools of the protocol, and the most important tool for you as a delegate is a placard. For the chair committee or the dice is the gavel. So whenever you want to express a motion, to express a right, you raise your placard. When your the director of the committee or the chair is starting the committee by the normal procedure of, what is it? The roll call. Once you will be here in your country, you need to raise your placard and say whether you are present or present and voting, or you're not there. So, is it understood? Your question is answered? Back to Mr. Amin, and you go back to your places.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for this clarification. We have a question.
Since I come from a long way, I did not know the name of the chairperson, and we did not get introduced. Your name?
Sister, could you please? Okay, so Mr. Imami is, wait. Hey. Mr. Imami is the Secretary General of this conference and all our MUN Morocco conferences. He is the co-founder of Model United Nations Morocco also. He works with a lot of organizations in Germany, in Brussels, in
France, and like all over the world almost, and in New York as well, in organizing like international conferences. He's an international chair. So he will be supervising everything, including the work of the chairs. We will always be reporting to Mr. Imami. And also we have Mr. Usama. He's also going to be chairing the second committee of the conference. So I'll be chairing the ECOSOC committee, and Mr. Usama will be chairing the second committee. So again, please, tomorrow, starting from tomorrow, we are going to be going slowly. We are going to explain everything. You always have the right to ask questions using the points that we talked about. So this is just a general introduction, okay? So don't feel stressed or anything. I would say that we have, Mr. Secretary General, do you think he missed something that we need to mention?
No.
I think
just the difference between Model UN and the United Nations. Just a brief introduction, as I said, I'd like to slow the pace and to put you in the context of what is this, and who are you as a delegate, and why you are a delegate, and why this Model United Nations is taking a place, and is it how it becomes as an international workshop for people to introduce you to the Model UN, and how you can get benefits out of it. Starting by what is Model United Nations. It is a conference and it is a training that actually started in Harvard in 1953, 3 years before the independence of Morocco. And this training was meant for the Harvard students to be the only or to be the most people that are representing the United States in the United Nations. So, and by then, both the United States of America, the Department of State, and the United Nations paid attention that most of the people that are working there and people that are representing the United States are from Harvard. And they took and they adopted that training because they saw for a fact how valuable it is for the people that are taking it. It's, again, we're taking the rules of procedure, simplifying them, and trying to practice them, and that's surely and guaranteed that it will give you a big boost to get enrolled into the UN, because you will be privileged more than someone who isn't experienced and who isn't introduced to what is the United Nations, to the mechanisms of the United Nations, to the different committees, to the different protocols, and to the different rules of procedure. So that was actually the introduction of Model United Nations. It was adopted by the United Nations in the first 60s, exactly 1961, the United Nations adopted Model United Nations as an exercise, and how it adopted it, and why it adopted it. It was adopted for implementing youth into the decision-making process, because the United Nations wants youth to be more involved into the decision-making process. So, and that was because of the example that I gave of the global warming. People who are making decisions for the global warming will not see the consequences of the global warming. That was the picking point that made the United Nations adopt this exercise. And now, yes, we know that for a fact that it's not enough, because how they are implemented or how they are involved is just for in suggesting, not execution position. So they just suggest and recommend resolutions to the United Nations, but it's better than nothing. And because of it, right now the United Nations have an envoy of youth, special envoy of youth, and it was started in 1961 when the United Nations had their first, or they were appointing their first envoy that represents the youth, and which is right now a Sri Lankan girl, and before it was a Jordanian Mr. called Mr. Hindawi. So that's, I guess, about it. And I guess I was about to say something else. How you can get benefit out of this experience is to list it in your record and to get the most out of it and to understand why there are these rules, like the background of these rules. You don't have to take them by heart. You have to understand why they exist. A question that I heard before about the point of parliamentary procedure or inquiry. You are a representative of your country and you should master the rules of procedure of the United Nations, otherwise you will not be there and you will not be entitled to represent your country if you are representing them and you don't know the bylaws and the protocol of the United Nations. So why there is this point? I always say it in the mock sessions. So if someone of the alumni can enlighten us why we have a point of parliamentary procedure, why delegates would ask what's going on, what is the procedure, how will be voted, why?
I think it is there to be used in order to weaken the position of the other delegates.
I'm sorry, those in the back, can you hear? Good? If not, you can always raise a point of personal privilege.
I mean here by weakening the credibility of other delegates.
Weakening the credibility of
other delegates, yeah. So when they are making some mistakes when it comes to the procedures, you expect them not are competent like they should be.
I would actually, when we work on certain procedures, we are actually working within the frame of the definite policies the organization or whatever the event is being held, they have announced for. So we work and focus on the specific things. That's why we need procedures.
The point of parliamentary procedure is, especially in these introductory conferences, so we can better learn the complex mechanisms of the actual UN. So if people make a mistake, they can.
But in the actual UN, why there is this point? Why it exists?
Because the procedures differ from committee to committee.
Yes and no, again. But I'll take this and then I'll answer.
Maybe they use it as a reference in history, or they go back to the points that they were discussed and implemented.
Maybe, but the answer is, or the United Nations wouldn't risk to doubt the credibility of the delegations that are representing their country, because you cannot guarantee your seat at the United Nations if you don't know by heart what are the different mechanisms and the different rules, different procedures for each committee. And once you are assigned to a committee, to a particular committee, so you know all the mechanisms that are practiced within this committee. But for this point was added because of the Human Rights Council. The Human Rights Council and the ECOSOC, both of them, they have this, I can say, thing that you unify them, which is the role of the social or the civic society within them. So it doesn't take to be only a delegation or to a representative of your country to get to the Human Rights Council or to the ECOSOC. You can be a normal NGO that works in the frame within your country and then apply for the ECOSOC and then get a seat within the ECOSOC or the Human Rights Council as an observer or as a reporter. And you will get the right to use the rules of procedure like any other delegation. And the United Nations cannot guarantee that you are mastering the rules of procedure. And they know for a fact that these rules of procedure takes a lot of reading, takes a lot of work and training, because countries tend to train their delegations before they go and they present them within the United Nations framework. So that's why they need this point, which is 100% point of parliamentary inquiry, because they know that you're not entitled to know all the points and procedure, and you will be sometimes overwhelmed, and sometimes you will be not knowing what's going on and why they moved from a working paper to draft resolution, and how you moved from a working paper to a draft resolution. So we will be asking the one who is entitled and the one that master actually the rules of procedure, which is the director, a point of parliamentary procedure, and he has to answer you. So that's just a sneak peek of why these points, and I would like you to question each of the points and each of the rights, and to challenge them, because if you know the background of them, you master how you can use them the best way. Okay?
Thank you again, Mr. Secretary General. Before we wrap up, I would just want to help you remember one phrase or one sentence that we'll be saying all the time, and that a lot of delegates confuse. So after you speak, after you speak on behalf of your country, of course, you start the delegation of this country that it believes that, etc. So after, like, you feel that you're almost done, or like it's only 30 seconds, but you are done, you are going to say something. The delegation of Morocco yields the floor back to the chair. Okay, so we have yield the floor back to the chair. Can you write it down, please? Yield the floor back to the chair. So you say yield the floor back to the chair when you exhausted your time, because the chair is going to be like, so your time is over or it's almost over, so you don't have extra time. So you will just yield the floor back to the chair, not to any other delegates. But let's say that you spoke only for 30 seconds and you still have 1 minute to go. You can yield the remaining time to another delegate or to another delegation who is or which is willing to take it, if that delegation agrees to take that time. But of course, you will have notes, you will be sending each other notes, so you'll be collaborating. You know that this delegation is actually going to use that time to support you or to add to what you said, because it's your time. Or if you don't want to yield it to another delegation, you can yield the remaining time back to the chair. Okay?
One question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you then choose questions? Ask somebody to ask you?
You can also, yes. So when you yield the remaining time to any delegation, they can either, ask you a question within that time, or they can just add to what you said. So they can say whatever they want, as long as it's within that 1 minute that you have. And then when it's over, the delegate who's speaking should yield the floor back to the chair. So when you have time, you yield the remaining time. When you don't have time left, you yield the floor back to the chair. I always hear we yield the chair back to the floor. So that's why I'm always yielded to the floor. I don't know how to do it, but it happens all the time. So please, let's just, this is a good jargon that we should be used to again. Now, questions?
Is there any countries who are obliged in all decisions to be voted, or all the countries can be just present?
Okay, so whenever we come back from a break, like whenever we leave the room and then we come back, we're going to conduct the roll call. And countries will raise their placards once they hear their name. They'll raise their placard and say present or present and voting. You can change. Like if you, let's say in the first session you said you're just present. But after that, you decided that you want to vote. You just say present and voting. And also before moving to the voting on, which is the most important voting, on the draft resolution, we're going to conduct a roll call again. Even if we don't leave the room, we will just do it before the voting. And then you can change your mind again.
Okay.
So you have the right to do that. Other questions?
Are we going to yield the floor or the remaining time to our allies or any other delegation?
Thank you. You can yield the floor or the remaining time, not the floor, the remaining time to anyone who you know has something to speak, because you will do lobbying, you will know that this country supports me, maybe they will have something to add to my point, so I will just yield the floor. But then the country should accept that time. If they don't, then the time will be yielded back to the chair. Okay? Like, it's not a must, like, for example, you feel embarrassed, oh, I don't have anything to say. You can simply refuse the time. Does this answer? Yeah.
So, like you mentioned before, that when a country mentions another country, they have the right of reply, and there is another right, I think, the right of follow-up. Can you just elaborate a little bit on which critics can the delegation be granted the right of follow-up?
Actually, that's the thing that when I said, because take it from me, like MUNs are organized all over the world. Each conference has their own, which like we have what we talked about. This is the general umbrella, but they have like more or less like small tiny changes in terms of naming, etc. So Mr. Secretary General actually included that in the right of reply. So you can speak whether, like I said, you feel that your country has been insulted or offended, or it was just mentioned, and whether in a good or bad way, and you want to follow up on that. You want to clarify your system. So for us, this is going to be flexible. And again, for those who are going to be in the other committee or in our committee, the chair will say tomorrow like certain things that are specific only to that committee. So now we're talking about the general stuff that we will all be using. Okay, so we will have this within our own small committee.
I have a question. When you started, you were talking about, you said tomorrow every country will be given a specific time to talk about their position. Can you please further elaborate on that? Because I don't know.
Okay, opening speeches, like I said, are very important. So they are this is the very first impression that you're going to make. Every delegate, according to their alphabetical order, for example, let's say that the first country is Angola, let's say Angola, so Angola is going to be invited to the podium to deliver a 90-second speech, maximum 90 seconds. Okay, the chair is going to set the time tomorrow. In this speech, you wrote your position paper. So you will just give us like a recap or like a summary of the most important points that you addressed there and that you would like to share with the committee. Like I said, because this will help you in the future to like lobby with other delegates. Because they will say, oh, like, okay, this delegation thinks that we should do that. We think the same thing. So I know one ally now. So it just tells you. And also it gives an impression, because if you read without the paper, you're showing self-confidence that you master your topic, etc. Like, of course, it's going to be a plus. Because at the end of the conference, we will have to decide who's going to get the awards. So this is going to help. So please make the best out of it.
Actually, I'm so confused about the right way to write a proper position paper, because even though I looked up in advance about how it's required, but still I have some confusion. Would you please explain?
Okay, so basically now the time for position papers is over. Like, we're not going to be asking you about your position paper, but just to elaborate on this, position papers are papers in which you talk about your country's stance regarding this topic. Like, where does your country stand in regards to, for example, the issue of terrorism, of like, I don't know, let's say drugs, whatever, or fighting drugs, etc. So in the position paper, you can give like a historical overview about your country's commitment to maintaining the work of the United Nations, involvement in international, let's say, conferences, agreements, etc., resolutions, like the efforts that they make on the field to solve this problem, etc. And then we want to know what are the things that you want to bring to the conference. Because
If we say like I'm Zain, everything is good, and like, yes, that's what you mentioned in the overview, that's what have been done. But obviously there is a problem, and that's why we are gathering here. So you are going to give us some points in which you are going to say, like, we see that this should be done this way, or like we should be focusing more on this, we should start this initiative, we should start this project, we should cooperate, like things that you can later suggest to be included in the draft resolution. Everything adds up. So we didn't just ask you, oh, go and write this position paper just to waste your time and give you a hard time, and oh, you should send it by the No, there is a purpose. It's going to be helpful throughout the conference. It's your compass. It's the thing that's going to guide you. Okay, so you know what you're talking about. You know your country's stance. And like Mr. Imami said, here you're not representing your own points of view, your country's. Let's say I'm a Muslim, you know, like I have some principles that, you know, Muslims have, but then I'm representing a country, a Christian country, or like Israel, or like any other country, any other religion that has other religions. I should not think about myself as a Muslim. If this country thinks that this should be like that, so I'm believing, I'm adopting that point of view, I'm defending it, even if I don't agree. So this is the power of diplomacy, this is the power of this training. Because if I give you something that you believe in, you will have more arguments, you will have more, and this is easy, it's going to be lame, you know?
That's the devil's advocate.
Yeah, exactly. The devil, that's a nice movie, by the way. Yeah. So, another question, and then I'm going to move to the next session before we conclude.
Regarding the inclusion of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Imami mentioned it's because of the human rights and because of the ECOSOC. Does that mean like only the NGOs that are there that are given the privilege to use it? Because he said it's because of the NGOs that include it.
So I will answer this question on behalf of Mr. Imami. So it's for everyone. It's like it's a right that is granted to everyone in the community. But then, like let's say, like Mr. Imami said, a delegate who represents a country, who is an ambassador of his or her country in the United Nations, cannot be granted this chance unless they master this, the rules of procedure. So obviously, they might not need it, you know, but it's there. Let's say someone forgets, someone has, like, I don't know, like, is not feeling well and they forget something, whatever, they can use it. It's for everybody present in the committee, in the house, to use it. But then, who's going to use it? Only people who have problems. Exactly what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Who's going to use it? Only people who still have, you know, confusion, who didn't, but it's there for everyone, even for the experienced ones. Okay? So it's going to be there. And it's already there because of the human right, I mean, it's for council. So now we are going to move to the mock session, in which we're just going to review what we have been talking about. And for that, Mr. Osama, would you like to help with that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Hello, delegates. My name is Osama. I'm a board member at MUN United Nations Morocco, and I will be chairing the Special Conference Committee. I am honored to have with me in my chairing committee, Kautar El-Uthmani. She will be co-chairing this committee. Kautar is a delegate, and that's why I'm giving her example. Is a delegate who started her event not knowing what MUN is about, what an MUN procedure is about, how MUN works. That was her first participation. Her second was an honorable mention. Her third was a best delegate. So that's what evolution is really about. That's what MUN United Nations is really about. And don't underestimate the power and the charm, as I say, of delegates. Okay? When you started, that's a huge charm, and you will always remember it. So first, before starting, I'd like to see the delegates of the special conference. Can you please, special committee, I'm sorry, can you please raise your hands? Okay. Just a little specific, as I told you in emails, and we've been communicated through emails. In this committee, it is special thanks to the fact that it will be discussing the topic from two angles, okay, and from 2 points of views. The first angle will be the fact that you will be representing countries, trying to come up with your own strategies, trying to come up with your own views and your own angles about the topic, and you will share that all, and you will debate that all in order to come up with a resolution about artificial intelligence or the geopolitics of artificial intelligence. Soft power, hard power, I'm sure that you made your research about that, and that's what I expect, actually, from you for tomorrow for an amazing debate. That will be the first part. We will hotten it up, and then we'll move to the part where we will need you as youth, as young people, coming up with solutions and coming up with plans and how artificial intelligence can be implemented in Morocco, also how it can be beneficial to the Moroccan society. So you will be working on that. And why start with going with all the countries and you represent the countries in order to be inspired from their own plans and strategies. You see, for example, Germany, you see, for example, Russia, you see, for example, US. Everyone has their own way of implementing artificial intelligence. Some have committees, some have experts, some go with strategies, long-term strategies. Some have short-term goals to be attained. So that will help you get inspired and be able to come up with good plans for implementation of artificial intelligence in Morocco and its development in the kingdom. That's the special conference. We will start as Mr. Imami and Mr. Ami said, and I will be just saying that again in a brief manner, the whole process, the setting the agenda, and even if you have only one topic, you still need to set the agenda. You still need to make sure that everyone is on the same line, because setting the agenda generally comes when you have 3 topics, for example, or 4 topics. Let's start with this one or the other, and we set the agenda even when you have only one topic, because simply we just need everyone to be on the same line and everyone to understand that we are actually debating the same topic. And then we'll move on to the opening speeches. Opening speakers list go with moderated caucuses and unmoderated caucuses. If you have any question about that, any ambiguity at all about the motions, moderated and moderated, suspend, abstain, the points also, points of order, parliamentary inquiry, personal privilege, and point of information. If you have any questions, any ambiguities about that all, that is the time. Okay? So, for now, delegates of the special committee, did you all, because there are some countries that did not send their position papers, I'd like to see where the delegates that did not send the position paper are. They're not here. Some are laughing. Maybe they did not send it.
I'm not on that.
Okay. Perfect.
I sent it.
A position paper is important for you to know your topic. That's very simple. It's just like this. But it's also important for us for your own evaluation. We won't evaluate you simply on what you do in the council. We also evaluate you on your own research. Because you can be a hell of a debater, but a hell of a lazy researcher. And that is not a diplomat. So research is very important when it comes to diplomacy and when it comes to negotiations. That is for the special committee. And as I said, if you have any questions or ambiguities about points, motions, whatever goes in the process, I am here to answer them. Okay? Now, if you do it, just raise your hands. Yes, sir.
Please, I can't really follow the second part of the special committee concerning discussing artificial intelligence in Morocco. How we are going to proceed?
Okay. It's exactly like the MUN, except, what country are you representing?
Norway.
You won't be representing Norway's views about that. The Scandinavian views, you will be allied to Sweden or Denmark, you will be a Moroccan, young, maybe expert about the topic, and you will try to come up with the plan, with the strategy, with the way how artificial intelligence can be implemented in Morocco, whether that's in education, whether that's in safety, privacy information, healthcare, workplace. All of these factors should be taken into consideration, and how artificial intelligence can help us there at these points. And when I was on train, I was with the delegate, and we were speaking about this topic, and the delegate mentioned the problem. And that is the awesome thing. When you mention the problem, that's where you find the solution. You won't expect yourself to just come up with a strategy and, okay, let's do that, without having a problem. You won't study the topic from, because of, I don't know, maybe study the topic from Spanish perspective or French perspective. No, a Moroccan perspective. problems in Morocco, such as, for example, how education and how training, academic trainings, are not really linked to artificial intelligence. So you go right there, start from that point, and see how artificial intelligence can actually enhance education and training plans and training strategies. So you go from there, get inspired from what the countries have done. Imagine that you are appointed in the committee, okay, a committee that's been appointed in Morocco in order to start this, in order to begin this era of artificial intelligence in the kingdom. Give us a plan, give us a strategy.
So then we can freely adopt any suitable strategy that we see.
You will, of course, you will discuss it freely. I mean, freely. If it's technicalities are respectable. I mean, not freely just say whatever or say something that is not really technical, something that is only literal, just literature in the resolution. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for technicalities, and you're free to propose whatever technicality you have. You just have to convince the other delegates that it is very important and that it can actually enhance the artificial intelligence development in Morocco. Do you see the thing now? Great, sir.
I have a question because I see here that how artificial intelligence changed the Moroccan society and not other society.
Yes,
society. So here, once this nation or the delegate would be just suggesting to what Morocco should adopt as an effective way to implement artificial intelligence.
Exactly, the second part of the committee. The first part, they will be representing their country, not in this topic. And the topic, as I said, geopolitics of artificial intelligence, or artificial intelligence and how it affects geopolitics. And that's the first part, that's the first topic. It'll help us harden it up, and then we'll move on to the second topic, to the second part, where you spoke about the Moroccan society being impacted and enhanced thanks to artificial intelligence. Do we have any other questions? So everything is clear. Okay, that's awesome. Now, I'm going to give you situations, and you will tell me the solution and what you think should be used in terms of the what point, what motion, whatever that is to be used in order to see if that has been clear, okay? So let's start with situation number 1. We've just entered the council. We took our seats. It's very weird. Everyone is looking at the other. We don't know what to do. What are we going to do? Yes, sir.
We have to see the agenda.
Okay, how do you do that? Do it. Imagine there are chairs here. Just do it to the dice committee.
The delegation of Federation of Russia would like to see the agenda on the topic of the link between artificial intelligence and geopolitics.
Thank you. And here, what the chair is going to be asking for from the other delegates? Before the votes?
Time.
No. 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 Before the vote. Seconds. What are seconds? Imagine that this delegate just proposed this motion, and I ask for seconds to see if there actually is a delegate that is seconding this motion, and I find no seconds. Why would I move to the vote if no one is actually agreeing to the motion that's been proposed by this delegate? So I ask for seconds, and if you agree with the motion, or the motion being proposed to vote, you say second. Okay? Is that clear? No? Okay. Delegate, please repeat your motion.
The delegation of the Russian Federation would like to set the agenda on the topic of the link between geopolitics and artificial intelligence.
Okay. Now, excuse me. Now, let's say that no one is interested in this topic. Why would we move to the vote? There's no reason, right? Okay. So first, let's test the interest in the topic. We do it by me, the chair, asking for seconds. If the delegate is finished, I say, are there any seconds on the floor?
The delegation Nigeria seconds the motion.
Exactly. You can just say second, and then it's seconded, and we move to the vote. Because there is actually support to the motion, and that is why we are moving to the vote. We would move to vote on something no one is agreeing on, and no one would like to debate or talk about. Okay? Is that clear? We just seconded the motion. What am I going to do? we just second the motion. What am I going to do as a chair, as for? Exactly, the vote. We should vote the motion, see if it's going to pass or not, and then we can move to the, to the speaker list. Yes, sir? To the speaker list, exactly. When I said that we are sitting and everyone is looking at the other in a weird manner, I meant that's after the roll call. We're just sitting, the roll call has been done. We know whether the delegates are present or present voted. That's the very first formality. I'm speaking about the real thing, the start of the simulation, okay? We second the motion, we move on, we have our topic, we open the speakers list. If you wish to be added to it, you raise your placard. If you don't, raise your placard, because you have to debate. This is the purpose of the simulation. And as I always say to delegates, MUN is one of the best experiences in terms of enhancing your political speaker debate skills. Why? Because you're talking for 2 to 3 days and non-stop. So take this opportunity and take the floor and speak. Make mistakes, of course, that's awesome. Mistakes are awesome. No one is going to laugh at you because it's a simulation, the academic one. We're all here to learn, okay? And make mistakes, correct them, and become a better speaker every time you take the floor, okay? That's why you should take the floor. Yes, sir.
You said that we don't have to vote if someone agree about what.
Yes, we don't.
Okay. But how would we know that no one is agreeing about what?
No one would say second. When I ask second, when I say, are there any seconds to this motion? And I hear a weird silence, that means no one wants to proceed with the motion, okay? We do this times and times and times and times again, and that is where you are debating the points, and that is where you are debating the motions that are raised, okay? To come up at the end with a working paper, which is a very first version of our final outcome, that is the resolution paper. This working paper should not be organized like a UN resolution. It only should tackle the points very briefly, just so that you delegates can know actually what architecture are you going to give to your own resolution, okay? And then this working paper is voted to be transformed into a what? Exactly. After this, we debate it, we amend it. Everyone has the right to amend. And what are amendments? Do you know what? Yes, sir.
They're proposed changes to a draft resolution.
Exactly.
In your content.
Exactly. We didn't have, for example, the chance to propose a change. We just saw that maybe the resolution could be better. So you have the right to propose amendments to the council. These amendments are read to the whole council and then voted. If a simple majority votes, then we add it. Yes, sir. Okay, that's the question. Yes.
Is it not delegates have to set a motion, how can I set a motion and decide a time for it? If I what are the characteristics that I should build on to set a specific time for the whole debate and a specific time for each delegate?
Okay. You have two cases here, whether that's a moderated caucus or an unmoderated caucus. When you take the floor, please, for example, 2 minutes, don't waste 1.5 minutes saying literature things and leaving the technicalities to 30 minutes. Mesmerize all these skills. No, that's not it. Okay, they want to see the technicality of it, and they would like to hear what you have to propose. Okay? That's first. And since that's what we need only short time. Generally, in my case, I have never done a moderated caucus of more than 30 minutes. Moderated caucus that is divided between delegates. Of course, you can have more, but you see, for example, you have 15 delegates in the council. Every one of them will speak for 2 minutes. So the maximum thing that you can give is 30. You can also give 15, you can also give 20, but just see if your motion has interest. Ask the delegates maybe if they really have something to say, so make it 2 minutes. If they don't, make it 1 minute. It's up to you. But what's important for me is the unmoderated caucus. Generally, people, they just raise a motion and they give whatever time they have on in their mind for the unmoderated caucus. Now, that unmoderated caucus is where you write the resolution, is where you lobby. So give it time, okay? When you're approaching to the very last parts and the moments of the event, in order to finalize the resolution, give it time. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that won't be enough. as long as you as delegates agree on it, okay? And the resolution paper, sorry, we have the draft resolution, it's amended, and then we go to the very last step, where we vote on that draft resolution to be transformed into resolution paper, and that's where you have the right to, yes, exactly, you present the resolution paper, it's read, and then it's voted. And here in the vote, I would like to specify a thing, I guess it has already been tackled, but anyway, I will just repeat it, it's the last thing, I promise, I see these sneaky faces. This thing is, oh yeah. Yes, sir.
Just a question concerning what is aforementioned by Mr. Imami concerning the non-resolution paper. So, of course, if we all, a country, arrived at a non-resolution paper, how it can serve other countries' interests or other countries' favors?
How is that?
Since we've come here to bring, to bring or to light up, to point up another resolutions.
Okay.
How can a non-resolution paper serve other countries' interests?
Well, I think Mr. Imani mentioned that in the context of real UN. Is that right? Okay. Countries, when they come to the United Nations, they're discussing the point. If we're not agreeing, we are getting to that step. How is that going to help the other countries? Well, I'm sorry, but these countries, they really, if the resolution, if the topic discussed were about a country, was about a country, a specific one, they kindly, I don't want to say the word, but they have problems, okay? They're really in a bad situation, okay? That's the real world, the tough world, okay? But in a simulation, generally you don't get to that top, to that step, to that moment, simply because you try to agree and sort out the diplomatic solution for your own topic. And I faced that thing before. We had a delegate of Russia. We agreed on everything. We were all good, and no one wants to say something. No one has a remark. No one has the slightest remark about the topic. A delegate of Russia, please be reminded, has, like that in my life, the Security Council, they have a veto power, and they said no. 3 days of hard work, 3 days of I don't know, 3 days of not sleep nights, and being deprived of sleep, food also, we were missing our coffee breaks. Imagine that, to work on that resolution, it was very important for us. It was about South Sudan. And at the end, the delegate of Russia said no. Why? Because they tried to play it really tough and really real, a hidden agenda in South Sudan. Now, I don't have an objective to qualify that whatever sort of thing they've just done. We were very mad and we were very angry, but the decision right there was to move on to the other topic, as we had 2 topics, and be very aware about the Russian delegate. And also, in these social events, the Russian delegate were just left alone sometimes in order for them to feel guilty about what they've done. And that way they go to the yes, and we go to the second resolution that was about the civil war in Libya. So yeah, when you vote the resolution, did I answer your question? Is it clear?
Yes.
Perfect. When we vote on that resolution paper, we just clap and we succeeded in our mission and we made it to the safe zone. We have a resolution, we have an international agreement, and that's the thing. For the special committee, that's where the whole other adventure starts. That's where you become yourselves, that's where you become young experts, trying to come up with the strategies and the plans to enhance artificial intelligence in the Kingdom of Morocco. Okay? I will be asking for questions if you have. If not, we will be stopping and ending this training session. Oh, that face right there is actually very needy. Sleep, food, what? Anyway, yes? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You do. You actually do. Now that I think about it, you have only 3 days.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. What? Yeah.
In your fiction about when we are at experts, do we have to make another application?
Yes, yes. It's like a whole another MUN started. Are you a special committee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
We're hungry.
Yeah, me too. I didn't have breakfast nor lunch. Yeah. Okay, if we do not have a question, the fact that you have to write your resolution papers, I don't say that that you're obliged. You can, in the real UN, you can spend weeks without writing a real resolution, but that's what we aim for, if you see what I mean. I mean, sometimes you have to debate 6 to 7 topics in 4 days, and believe me, 2 topics in 3 days, you really can do that. Of course, you need to work hard. My very last piece of advice, use this experience, okay? Don't let it slip out of your fingers, because that's an experience that will help you delegates, enhance your, as I said, public speaking skills, debate skills, diplomatic skills. It will help you, okay? So take the floor and don't be shy. And go eat. Don't go eat.
We still having 1 hour. All right, we'll be giving the floor to some of our best delegates to talk about their experiences with MUN United Nations Morocco, and before that we'll be giving the floor to Kautar. Kautar, come to the floor. Happy to introduce Kautar. She was a member of MUN United Nations Morocco, and maybe Usama talked about her, but I would like to give you a picture of what Usama just said. She was a former delegate of MUN United Nations Morocco and the new junior member of MUN United Nations Morocco academic team. Welcome. You have the floor.
Thank you. So my name is Kautar, and actually when Usama talks about me, he was nicer than I expected, because my first experience wasn't that good. I remember that I was representing Iran and I sent the position paper about Morocco. When I was, yeah, it was that bad. And then when I was in the council, I didn't speak at all. When someone came to me asking me to, as a chair, to stand, defend your country, they're attacking you, suggest something. I was suggesting something that was against the real position of the country. So when someone gave me that look, I was like, okay, please just stay there, stay quiet. Yes, it was that bad. My first time, yes, so it was a pure learning experience. But my other experiences, I made sure to come back stronger with more knowledge. I made sure to send the position paper representing the country I was assigned the second time. I made sure to do my deepest researches, and of course, after each experience, you feel that you are learning more, you're becoming more confident, you're getting more used to the rules, and of course, with the help of Mr. Imami and Usama, you learn more about how the MUN is, because to be honest, you don't just get it all at once. It's the first experience, but try to get as much as you can from it, because the shorter you spend learning, the better. I took so long, it was okay, but I made sure that I'm good. After that, I got the honorable mention, then the best delegate mention, but it was all thanks to my first very terrible experience. It was because I promise you, whenever I ask about my favorite experience is always the first one, because it is when I felt that I have learned, even though I embarrassed myself. I don't know what the first impression you have of me, but yes, so if I have any advice to give you, do your deepest research. You're gonna be lying asleep by the end of the MUN, but it's totally okay. You're gonna be enjoying the process. The MUN is here, you're gonna love it so much, or just hate it so much and quit it, because it's no sleep, as Hannah said, sometimes no food, it's stress, work, and stuff, but we enjoy this. So just enjoy it and better yourself through it. Yeah.
Welcome, Kautar, again. And that now we'll be giving the floor to 4 people, our best delegates from previous experiences. Yusra, Ali, come on, all of you. And of course Kautar, and who else with us, and Ashraf, of course. All of you are right now, we put you in a very weird situation, but you probably don't know these people. Who are these people? So I'll let them introduce themselves and try to motivate the newbies.
Hello, my name is Ali Intellia. I'm studying at the National School of Management and Business of Kenitra. It's my 5th time in MUN. My first time I was in my last year of high school. As Qatar said, I didn't know what Model United Nations was about. How can I defend the country that I know nothing about? I was defending the position of Japan in ECOSOC. And I didn't know. I still don't know what is Japan and what is China, the difference between them. It was very hard. But also, as Qatar said, the first time I just stayed, didn't talk a lot, tried to do my best, but the most thing is to learn, to know what are the procedures of Model United Nations and how to defend correctly, how to be a good diplomat. So, as always, I say that Model United Nations is a life-changing experience. Like the first time when I remember that my first experience, I wasn't that Ali that is here now talking to you. I didn't know anything. I couldn't talk in front of people. I couldn't talk in English. I couldn't be confident to talk to other people and maybe to insult, not insult in a bad way, but to defend your country's position. And thanks to MUN, now I can do that. And not only in Model United Nations, but in everything. Like I can talk in front of 200,000, maybe in the future, maybe 2,000, but 200 people. And also another thing is networking. Model United Nations is about networking. Talk to other people, meet them, know them, because one day all what you will have is those people, those contacts, and those friendships. I had like some great friendships from Model United Nations that I'm very grateful for. So networking is something very, very important. Don't lose any second, any minute, and not talking to someone next to you. Ask him where he's from, what he likes. I don't know. Just talk to him. So as I always say, Model United Nations is a life-changing experience. That's it. Thank you. And another thing, thanks to Mr. Imami, to Mr. Imam, Osama, Amin, and everyone, because they will. Before they were like models, but now they are friends and they inspire. So thank you very much.
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Ashraf. I'm Ashraf Menem. I'm from very far in the north. I'm from Nador. I bet there's nobody from this city. Oh yeah, Nador. So yeah, first time I ever meet somebody from Nador here. Yeah, it's that bad. So basically, in general, like my experience with MUN. For example, I participated in a model union for the Mediterranean. That was my very first kind of diplomatic experience and event. However, I was advised by a certain friend to participate in MUN. However, I reached a certain point in my life where I stopped improving. I tried everything. I actually tried, studying harder, like making deep research. I just didn't end up with a very clear result. The progress just stopped showing. And like what I learned from MUN is like when you're put, like Kautar said, when you're put through those 3 days of stress and intense knowledge and intense like sleep deprivation, and you're just doing so much research and trying to force your way to be politically correct and being like a real diplomat, you actually improve drastically. And I was surprised at myself and how much my level has improved. I realized that now only the toughest experiences are the ones that are making me improve. I couldn't improve normally, neither by motivating myself alone, but thanks to Imya and thanks to Imami's pressure as well, because Imami has a very unique, amazing pressure that also all delegates realize how Imami is very serious about his work, how he motivates his delegates. He can surprise you sometimes by extra loads of work that you should actually, make it by due time while you have other, diplomatic work. However, like MUN overall, it improved me a lot. It gave me so many opportunities. Like I've been sitting with a couple of friends, we were discussing diplomatic matters, and they were like so much surprised with how much knowledge I accumulated in the experience, especially with the refugees issues, and the issues that we're tackling right now in the Mediterranean. And I said I'm just an English student. I'm not studying politics or anything. And they're like really surprised, and how? And I'm like, well, intense research of 3 days in MUNs, they're really interested. And I started recommending this to my friends. Like the same, on my first day, it was hectic. I didn't know what to do. I was Egypt. Sometimes I was given also Iran in a Human Rights Council, which was a very good experience, So I learned to adapt, and the MUN gives you the power of adaptation under stress and working under pressure like real diplomats, and it prepares you for something, either professionally, either you want to continue the diplomatic work, or just within you and yourself. Like we are a family now, we almost know all the board members, they supported us. Imani gave valuable advices regarding, like whenever I'm like questioning something, I just run to him, like how do I do this? Like, is it like this or is it politically correct to do this? And he always clarifies. So do not hesitate at any certain point to ask the board members to actually help you out. They are super friendly, I can guarantee that, very friendly, and they have a good sense of partying as well. So yeah, I think I'll just wrap up everything, and I want to thank you all for coming and wish you a very good experience, right?
Hello everyone, my name is Zainab. Like Kautar, my first experience wasn't that good either. My first MUN was in Fes with Amin and everyone. But until now, whenever someone asks me when was my first MUN, I say Session VIII, because the one in Fes, like I didn't have any idea what MUN was even after the event, because it was like my first experience. And to be honest, I didn't take it that seriously. But unlike her, it took me 8 MUNs to be standing where I am now today, and it's all thanks to Mr. Imani, Mr. Isama, Mr. Amin, Raja, and other people who are not present here with us today. But I'm going to tell you something. It's okay to be scared. It's okay not to know things. It's all right to ask whenever you feel like you don't understand something. But by the end of this event, I'm pretty much sure you will not regret the decision you made to be here today. I'm hoping to get to know you more, and that's it for now.
So I don't want to use this one because I'm just like too sorry to hold anything on my hand. I'm sorry, just like you, so I'm gonna be quick. So my, honestly, opposite to the others, maybe my first experience was so good. Why? Because in my very first MUN, I was in the Security Council in the African Union, and my chair was Mr. Imami, and the co-chair was Ms. Raja, which I'm extremely grateful for. That was a very, very interesting and very, how to say, just extraordinary experience for me, because just like the others, I was awfully bad. I was just like, I didn't know anything, I didn't understand anything, I was confused, I didn't know the rules of procedures, I didn't know how to do, when to talk, how to talk, what to say. I was even confused about my position because I had a quite strong country in my council. I was Nigeria, and we were discussing the topic of armament and the South Sudan issues, so I was like, what are we talking about? When should I speak? How should I speak? And something happened that day that I still remember, which was Mr. Imami asked me to speak. He actually addressed the council for Nigeria to take part in a kind of discussion, to say something about the topic. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do it, I don't know what to say, I'm not gonna do it, and I refused to do it. But then afterwards I was just like, why not? I mean, I'm here to learn, and I should learn, and I'm just gonna contribute as much as I can. Fortunately and unfortunately for me, later on the discussions ended and I needed to write the resolution paper, but I contributed so much in the resolution paper, and by the end of the day I went to Mr. Imami and I asked for his advice or for what his remarks about me, and he was like, you're good, you were a very good delegate, but you just needed that push to talk. and to take the opportunity to voice yourself. So in that moment, I was like, if Mr. Imami believed in me, so I need to believe in myself. And I started to talk, and since that day I didn't stop talking. But today I'm gonna do so, just so I can go and eat, because you're all hungry. And I hope that this experience for the first comers is going to be just as excellent and perfect as mine was, and hope to see you again in many other MUNs or any other opportunities like debates or events like these. So thank you.
All right, I don't have that voice. I asked them for the floor not to publicly embarrass them or to give credit to Model United Nations Morocco or to myself, because I've done nothing. It's all their work and they deserve it many times. But the reason why I asked them to take the floor or to come in front of you to support them, because these are a real example of progress. Right now, there are the 4 nominees that will be going to represent Model United Nations Morocco in Berlin, in Germany. We are sponsoring them. We trust them because we know that they progressed and they go so far, they went so far. And right now, they are real models, not only for you, for us. So we want you to talk to them, to learn from them. They have a lot of experience when it comes to the knowledge and when it comes to the rules of procedures and the leadership skills. So please learn from them. They will be your fellow delegates for the last time. I know they are for a fact that from now on they will be part of Model United Nations Morocco academic team. So take a benefit for and enjoy seeing them as a delegates while they are. Thank you very much. One piece of information that I will be building from what Mr. Ashraf just said, that he is doing English studies or English department studies, and he didn't know the relationship between that and the Model United Nations. And that's actually the answer is brief, that the United Nations and all the international organisms, they're treating everything, no matter is your academic background. You don't have to be a diplomat to end up working for the United Nations. So there is a WHO, they treat the mid and whatever is going on the mid sector. There is the UNDP, engineers work there. There is the Human Rights Council, human rights defenders and activist people that end up there, whatever their academic background is. I started as an English department student as well, and then I did diplomacy and I pursued my studies in Model United Nations, and I found my passion because of Model United Nations. And I am right now as a consultant for the African Union, and I work for the United Nations right now as the youth sector. So do not limitate yourself. Whatever is the background of your studies here, you can end up wherever you want. The only thing that it takes is the motivation and how you will reflect your motivation through work. So this is a piece of advice that I should be giving you by the end of this conference, but I'm giving it to you by the beginning because I want to motivate you and I want to see the best out of you. I'll be giving the floor to Mr. Amin to talk about one of the exciting new partners that will be coming for us tomorrow. Amin, you will be having.
Thank you. So this conference's surprise is that tomorrow we are going to host Fulbright. I don't know who knows Fulbright. Raise your hands if you know. That's great. Who wants to learn more about Fulbright? Who wants to go on a Fulbright scholarship to the United States? That's great. So actually, Mr. Inani and I and MUN Morocco in general have been working a lot to break this opportunity into the MUNs that we're going to organize all over Morocco. And this is going to be, since this is the first edition of Meknes MUN, it's going to be also the first edition in which we are going to kick off this amazing partnership. So tomorrow we are going to have two representatives from Food Rights Morocco who are going to talk to you about how much money are there just waiting for someone to take them. You want to study at Harvard University? Don't care about the money. You just need to be good and need to have like a good application. And the fact that now they know us, like Fulbright knows us, so the fact that you're going to mention in your CV that you are an MUN alumnus, that's going to be like, you know, a plus. And that's actually why we want to do this. We know that we work with amazing people, and we want the world and Fulbright to know that our people are amazing. So tomorrow you will be meeting with them, you prepare your questions, they will talk to you about, they have master's grants, like no limit, literally no limit. You can study wherever you want in the United States. They have opportunities for teachers to teach at the university level in the United States. A lot of money are there. Also, they have PhD opportunities that are joint between Moroccan universities and American universities. So if you are a PhD student, you can have like, yeah, like you can go and you have your own supervisor in an American university, fully sponsored. If you want to do research, if you want to have an NGO and you want to bring an expert or someone to speak in your conference, you can apply for Fulbright. They can send you like, I would say Bill Clinton if you need them, and if they happen to be available, they can bring them to you to speak in your events. So it's a very important opportunity, and we will be happy to introduce it to you tomorrow. Thank you.
I could give you that news myself, but Amin worked on it so hard. So recognizing Amin, I want him to be the spokesman to deliver to you that exciting news. It's something that we want you to seize. It's an opportunity. The fact that you are a Model United Nations Morocco alumni, that gives you a plus, that gives you more points. So you need only to work on your personal record and to have a good application form, and that's all what it takes to be accepted in a Fulbright scholarship. It's an exciting partnership that we are developing right now with them. And we are working so hard in the board member to offer you the best experiences from Conrad to other exciting embassies that are working with us. Mrs. Yusra talked, and she talked about people that you don't know, Raja, Mr. Yusuf Aradi. There are pillars in Model United Nations Morocco. They started this initiative with me. I recognize them, and you should know about them. These people, they were the ones that started this along with me and supported me to right now be standing in front of you. So it's a whole community. We stand for each other, we support each other, and we are expecting nothing less from you. We are proud that now we're having new people in Model United Nations Morocco, new alumni. You are welcome. If you need anything, we are here to support you. By all that said, I would like to call for a point or a motion.
Any motions? Delegation of Hungary would like to. The delegation of Hungary would like to raise a motion to adjourn the meeting and go to please.
Any second for this motion?
Second.
Delegations in favor, please raise higher backwards. Delegations against? Actually, this vote is invalid. Everyone needs to vote either for or against the motion. Delegations for the motion, please raise higher placard or your hands. Delegations against.
Order in the house.
Order.
Order in the house.
This motion is a passing one, and you have a right to go ahead. Your last information, please be on time.